You know how it is. You spend 10 years being walked over, jumped on, getting wet and blasted in the sun, then things start to break off. This is what happened to my Jetty. Now I loved the irregular oak boards, but to be honest they were a bit rubbish. They had signs of rot even in the beginning, so now it's definitely time for a Jetty makeover. The Jetty frame was made from 8x4-inch oak sleepers with cross-bracing timbers fixed with dowels. Inch-deep notches were cut to support the beams and held in place with M12 coach bolts. Back to the future. Using a bar to lever them off is a pretty brutal attack and ineffective against the decking screws. Sawing is hardly much better. A more intelligent approach would be to unscrew the boards. Alas, the recessed holes are filled with compacted sand, making the bolt heads immune from unscrewing. My old air compressor saved the day and blew the problem away. A hex adapter that came with a packet of bolts is fixed in the jaws of my brace, which easily provides enough torque to twist out the bolts. Underneath, the two beams are not too bad. So I'm going to fix on top a 4x2-inch larch board on each of them to make them stronger and keep the water off the pine beams. Larch is very resinous and water resilient. I'm fixing with standard decking screws. The decking is also larch. A simple jig makes cutting the 1 meter lengths quick. Guide strings keep the decking edge straight and show where to drill the beams for the fixing screws. Between each board we need around 5mm gap to allow air circulation and inhibit moisture collection. I'm using a scrap piece of ply to set the gap. Finished. Well, not quite. Of course, when you're going along doing a project, you realise that you've made a bit of a mistake. Well, it's not a mistake really, but I should have an airspace, as well as between these boards, I should have one certainly under there, because we've got this 3-inch, 4-inch wide piece of larch over the top there, so the two flat surfaces, water will get underneath and just stay there. So I've just loosened these off. Loosen another one, and then what I'm going to use as a spacer, instead of plastic washers, I've just got this piece of old hose, and when that's compressed, that'll give me about 3 millimeters of space. And the hose is it's going to be really quite easy, hopefully, to just thread all the way through. If I fix one end first. Just loosely for now, and then I can just go along and push this stuff all the way under. Just using a scrap piece of ply again. Just get that spacing right. Now loosen the others off. I think we'll go all along. Let's take that one out. I've only used one screw each side of the deck boards to hold them in place. I'll drive in another screw for a more permanent fix when I'm sure they're positioned correctly. The timbers now have an air gap to allow moisture to escape from underneath. I'll do both beams of the jetty, but for now I've had enough. It's too hot. It's also affected my boys. And now able to run faster along the jetty means they will have to recalibrate their judgment of angular momentum.
That was the worst one I have ever done.